Okay, so we are going to continue with our discussion. Like I have said, we're going to hit 2 lessons. We're going to tackle 2 lessons today. At wala tackle ka ng unang lesson 2. Now we're going to tackle lesson 3. Okay? So in lesson 3, it is entitled Information Literacy. Amo ni siya class. Okay? So we're going to open it. And Information Literacy, this is lesson 3 for unit 1. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to classify varied sources of information. Okay, so we are going to tackle about information. Okay, there are different types of information, and information is everywhere, right? Evaluate the relevance of varied sources of information. So we're also going to tackle about it. Demonstrates ethical use of information. Now, as what we always do in the class, right? Ginauna, gini-permit answer ni. As what I said, may 4 din kita nga maitapol. However, on this lesson, pamati, mayo, para hindi mamangkot sa akon sa group chat, kay sometimes naingit ako class. Kay kapila ko naihambal, paulit-ulit lang yapon mo paulit-ulit. Okay? So I hope mamati, gid ka mo diri subong sa video. Latawon yung mga class ang ginapangambal sa inyo. Kaya ang iban sa inyo class, wala galantaw sa video, wala galantaw, wala ka follow sa instruction, go-bro-bra lang, then kung may sala, mamangkot sa maestra, mamangkot sa akon, sa teacher. Okay? So, I hope that you do your own part because I am doing my part. Okay? As your teacher, malaklas nga mahatag ng mga instruction yung dapat nga mabalaan. So, I hope that you man class pag-take na for granted. Next. Okay? As what you can see, we have, okay, so first, ano basahan ta? Classify varied sources of information, evaluate the relevance of varied sources of information, demonstrate ethical use of information, and this is all in lesson 3, okay? Entitled Information Literacy. Now, as what I always say, we always do in the class, naga-answer gid ka mo sa activating, then gabasa ka mo acquiring, answer naman sa applying, then answer sa evaluate or sa assessing na part. However, on this part of the lesson, pamati din maayo, on this lesson, lesson 3, hindi na ni pag-ansiran ang activating na part. Kuha, ansiran hindi. Of course, hindi. Okay? So, hindi ni pag-ansiran ang activating na part. Now, i-klase tasubong ang acquiring na part. Okay? Sir, ansiran pang applying new knowledge na part? No. Hindi. Okay? Hindi. So, pila kabilog ang hindi pag-ansiran, ang activating na part, kag ang applying na part. Okay? Duwa kabilog ang hindi ninyo pag-ansiran. Okay? So, dasig lang siya ang lesson 3. So, ay nyo lang hindi ansiran class na dapat matapos bigin today or tomorrow, mag alas 11, 11 p.m. kaya i-close ko na siya. So, dapat matapos na siya answer ang duwa ka assessment na part. Okay, duwa ka bilog ang assessment na part ha, atong sa lesson 2, hanggang sa lesson 3 nga inisubong. Ari siya. Nakuha. Okay, so I hope nakuha na. Next. Now, we're going to tackle about information literacy. Then after this one, mag-groupings na kita for the performance task. Kung ano inyong brown sa performance task. After we tackle this new lesson on lesson 3. Okay? Now, we're going to open this one. And before we go to our discussion for this one, ipakita ko na naman sa inyo ang inyong groupings for sa diri naman nga video. Diri naman kamo ma-comment sa diri nga lesson. Okay? Diri naman nga lesson, ang i-comment ninyo, ari siya. Una ko nga ipakita is ang section HAMBURG. Okay? So, HAMBURG, ano ninyo i-comment na naman sa sininga lesson. Duwa kabilog ak itungaon ko ning lesson nga sa duwa. Part 1 and Part 2. Okay? So, duwa inyo komentan. At kung anong i-comment sa Part 1, dapat amo man i-comment sa Part 2. Nakuha? So, ari ng inyo nga code sa dalom. Okay? So, nagrupo-grupo na kamo. I-post nyo lang kung kinanglan nyo i-post kaya para mabalaan nyo kung ano inyong code. Okay? So, as what I've said, kinanglan dapat may, ano na naman kamo? Kinanglan, mayroon naman kamo sa papel, lapis, kaya para inyo inamalista. Did you get me? Okay, so I hope nakuha niyo na Hamburg. So, muna sa Hamburg, ang sa duha ka section, standby, kay mga klase pa kita. Okay? So, Hamburg, ilista danay. Okay? Then later ka lang comment, ha? Later ka lang comment, pamati, anay. Okay? Pwede man nga i-post mo, then comment ka, then balik ka pamati again. Okay? Okay? Next. Balik na sa lecture ta. Information literacy. Information literacy is the ability to recognize when information is needed. Okay? So, information literacy class, as what I said before, bala, ang literacy, gapakita sa class ang ability mo, okay? Sa proper ability mo, kung ano yung mga abilidad, mag-deal or mag-manage sa isa ka bagay. So, in this one, amo naman yang information literacy, your capability or your ability paano mo i-manage ang information na nakuha mo or i-share mo. Okay? So, information is the ability to recognize when information is needed. Okay? Kung saan mo siya needed, kinanglan mo gid ba information or hindi mo kinanglan ng information or kinanglan sa upod mo information. Okay? And to locate, evaluate, and effectively use and communicate information in its various formats and also process data, knowledge derived from study, experience, instruction, signals, or symbols. Okay? So, tanang class, mga data, study, experience, knowledge, signals, tanan na class are all what we call information. Okay? So, ang pamagot dire, what is your ability kung saan mo gamiton or saan mo kinahanglan ang isa ka information. Okay? For example, kinahanglan mo magkuha sa imong mga assignment. Okay? Kung kinahanglan mo mag-research yung imong assignment, so kinahanglan makadto sa internet, then mabasa ka, okay? Kung may information literate ka, ginabasa mo ana imong ginabasa, okay? Or ginabasa mo gid ana yung imong assignment before mo ipasa. Okay? Kaya para bala mahambal ka gid nga sakto gid ang informations or information na ginpamutang mo sa imong assignment. Next, in the media world, information is often used to describe knowledge of specific events. Okay? So in the media world, it's information is what we call specific events or knowledge. Knowledge kasi not specific events. It's the knowledge. Ang imo balaklas ka alam sa isa ka events or situations that have been gathered or received by communication. Okay? Maganda kita by communication, for example, by social media. So, communication by phone call. Okay? By you communicating with others personally. So, amo na class maganda kita nga gakakuha ng mga information out of communication. Intelligence. Okay? So, ikaw kay basi may mga nabalaan kaya you read books. Okay? You always you listen to the different mga mga alam na tao and everything. So you have it, may nabalaan ikaw. You have intelligence. News reports. Okay, so mga news reports ngayon na class, of course, it gives us information. The word information can be interchanged with data, which is essentially raw information. Okay? In media, pwede ta ma-interchange ang word na information sa word nga data or data. Okay? Sometimes they call it data. Raw information, it is essentially raw information. And knowledge, which is characterized by effective use of information. Okay? So kung magambala makita yung knowledge in media, it means your effective use of information. Okay? You have the knowledge of cancer, knowledge of COVID, knowledge of motorcycle accidents. Okay? So, amo na class ang ginatawag ta, you have the effective use of information. Okay? Wala ka ka-aksidente because may knowledge ka about sa motorcycle accidents. Wala ka katakdan COVID kaya may knowledge ka about sa COVID. Okay? Then, magkita class nga data lang. Ang difference nila, magkita data, though plain information. Okay? Pwede nga may balaan ka, pwede nga wala. Okay? For example, your data for the task. Okay? So, ang nabalaan mo sa task na obrahon mo, mulang na. Okay? Next, being information literate is an important life skill as it also involves critical thinking. Okay? As what we have tackled earlier sa isa to ka video, kinanglan gid class when we use media and we use information, dapat class we are critical. Critical thinker ta bala class, ina bala class ang gaisip ta anay before ta magpati sa isa ka bagay, or ano ta gaisip ta anay before ta ipalaktang isa ka bagay, or before ta i-share ang isa ka bagay or ang isa ka information. Okay? So, ang muna class kung may critical thinking ka. Now, we are going to discuss more about critical thinking. You know to? Okay? Critical thinking is defined by criticalthinking.org 2019 as the intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and or evaluating information gathered from or generated by observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to belief and action. So class, gaano ka kunwari, ga-conceptualize ka, ga-apply ka, gina-apply mo ang knowledge, gina-analyze mo, and everything, ang mga information nga nabaton mo based sa ginobra mong observation, sa experience mo, sa reflection, sa communication, okay? So gina-process mo, gina-anay before ka kadto sa belief or action. Anong action mo? Anong response mo? Okay? Out sa imo nakita, bigyan ng balang ka lang karong makaon katain. Okay? Tapos wala kaya critical thinking skill, nagpati ka dayon. Ang imo dayon nga feedback or imo nga response is nagpati ka dayon. Wala ka nag-isip mo. Nga tae gali baho, kagadaw pala ay kaunon. Okay? So, amo na class, kalain siya. Okay? So, dapat may critical thinking ta and all. Next, in becoming literate in sourcing out information, according to the Seminole State Library, there are 5 components of information literacy. Figure 1 below shows these 5 components. So, may 5 components, class, ang information literacy. First, we have to identify, okay, familiar sa color class. Okay, so I hope nga hindi nyo wala pa kami nakasuksok ha, ang color nga ini. Okay, so kung ano man inang ginaisip nyo na, ang man ginaisip ko. Okay, doon sa lisari na color. Next, okay, never mind. Identify, may find, evaluate, apply, and knowledge ko, no? Ang components of information literacy. To summarize, okay, to summarize the figure above shows that an information literate person can identify, find, evaluate, apply, and acknowledge the information. Callison and Tilly, 2006, further elaborate an effective and efficient information seeker. Okay, kung effective ka kuno nga information seeker class, ang mo nga gina-apply. You identify the information important to a need. Okay, so ga-identify ka na sa information na kinahanglan mo. Find reliable and relevant sources of irrelevant sources of information. Next, evaluate its reliability, bias, authority, and intent. So, gina-test mo ginaanay kung reliable itong gingkwaan mo sa find. Apply the value of consulting with resource specialists and critical peers to reframe and refine questions and inquiries. Next, acknowledge new information and organizes them in meaningful ways. Okay? So, amo nang 5 ka components ng information literate na individual. Okay? So, may mga ipakita ako nga video sa inyo. Before ko ipakita ang video sa inyo, I want you first to know sa grupuhay. Grupuhay naman sa section FREMANTLE. Okay? So, FREMANTLE, amo naman ninyo nga code na kinanglan nyo i-comment. I-check ko ini ang mga code ha. Hindi ka mo magamba na, ay, hindi ko ito mag-comment sa code palagpatan ko. Okay, i-check ko na ako naman na nakakita sa mga comments. Sige, yan yung. Okay? So, ara na section FREMANTLE, ang inyo nga, tawag din, ang inyo nga code. So, pwede nyo na siya ma-comment na. Okay? Next! Kadto kita sa lecture naton, malanto kita sa video nga ini nga una. Okay? Or you can just watch this video na lang class dira sa inyo da. Ha? you can just watch this video. Kay basi dugay ni balahak na. Dugay lang, okay? So basi maaawatan kita sa oras and everything, 3 kabilog. So you can just watch this video. These are just helpful videos para ma-enhance pagit inyong knowledge about sa information literacy. Okay? So next, we're going to the next one. So now we're going to the next topic, okay, or to the next discussion. It's called stages of information literacy. So now we're going to tackle about the stages of information literacy. UNESCO has provided a list of elements that make up an information literate individual or stages of becoming information literate. Example na, first, dapat there is an identifying, recognizing information needs. Next is determining sources of information. Okay, so first, gina-identify mo, gina-recognize mo kung anong mga needs mo, mga information. Next is to determine kung ano yung mga source of information. Diin ka makwa. Are you going to get your information coming from a friend, coming from a television, coming from social media, coming from the internet? So you try to find your source. Okay, so dapat mga source nga namin, mga class and everything. And proper, masaligan. Citing or searching for information. Dapat ginasite ng information kung sa diin mo ginkuha and everything. Analyzing and evaluating the quality of information. Then after that, organizing, storing, or archiving information. So gina-store mo, gina-organize mo information. Next, using information in an ethical, efficient, and effective way. So dire na di class, gina-try mo na apply ang information mo na nabatian or nakuha. Next, creating and communicating new knowledge. And out of that new information nga nabalaan mo, okay, try ka create some own idea, okay, some own mga new knowledge about the information that you have just read or received. Okay? Next, typology of information. Magkita typology of information, mga different types of information. First, according to www.live.odu.edu, the kind of information one is looking for may be categorized as the following. So, ari siya class. These are the following types of information. First is the factual versus analytical. First, we're going to discuss about the factual. Anong factual? Factual information is based on evidences and findings provided by reliable sources. Ang bagamba kita analytical information is an analysis or interpretation of facts by an expert in the field. Okay? So magamba kita factual tutuod. With class, ang analytical is by my interpretation of the factual or the mga facts mga binpanguha. Subjective versus objective information. Subjective information is a discussion and elaboration of a thesis, statement, and anchored on facts. Objective information is unbiased and does not lead to judge the information in a certain way. So magkambag kita subjective class, daw ginadiri mo pag gina-incorporate ang iyong mga feelings. Abi pag receive mo sa information, or gabasa ka, tapos gusto mo magkuha information coming from a book. So habang gabasa ka, doon na ba siya gan mo nga daw, ay, hindi niya akon man, daw law ay niyang pamatsaga ko sa pagbasa, kay daw akig ang nagsulat. Okay? So dira pa lang class, that's subjective already. Because ginpairal mo ang emotions over sa unbiased mo dapat nga perception. So magkambag kita objective naman class ya, wala siya bias. Okay? So plain lang siya bala class in everything. Ano lang siya kung ano dang arat ta, amo lang na. Okay? So kung wala ka pa apekto sa emotions mo. Okay? That's objective. Next, current versus historical. Current information are those according to the recency of release, but the reliability is still dependent. Okay? Historical information are old but are very helpful in providing insights and comparisons of events. Okay? Next, so current lang kag historical class, tandaan nga, kung current is subong. Historical ti mga nagliligad pa na nga pwede mo man gyapon magamit. Scholarly versus popular. Scholarly or academic professional technical information comes from academic sources. Amo na magamba kita scholarly class. It comes from, for example, research, mga amo na, that's scholarly information, academic information. Na do ginstudyhan di ba la class? Okay, formal gid siya in nature. Next, Popular information appeals to general interest. Ang popular information naman kaya class kung anong ga-exist na popular, so amo nang imong information. Okay? So, miski hindi siya tuod, miski hindi siya halin sa study kit or sa research, basta information siya nga kinahanglan mo, ginakuha mo. Okay? Next. Primary versus secondary versus tertiary nga information. Okay? Primary information are original, okay, pamati, uninterpreted, unanalyzed, first-hand information, and may need to be constructed with raw data. So, example, sa mga primary gini nga information, for example, ka-research ka, kinahanglan mo primary information. So, ang first-hand nga information, gid, example, nag-interview ka gid katawo. So, ang tao, gid, ang ginkuhaan mo sang source. So, that's a primary information. Okay? Next, secondary information are usually written by someone other than the original author. Kung magamba naman kita secondary information, this could be from the book. Okay? Kung nagkuha ka lang sa internet, for example, sa mga information mo nga kinahanglan, okay? Or sa books mo nga mga information nga kinahanglan, so ginakuha mo na, and that is what we call secondary information. Okay? It is written by others and you utilize it. Tertiary information are topic reviews, include bibliographies of primary and secondary sources, and provide access to materials on specific topics. So, magamba kita tertiary class do kumbaga halin sa tawo na publish sa book kagin publish liwat. Okay? So, amo na class or dogin balita liwat. So, amo na class magamba kita tertiary information. Okay? So, the combination sa sang primary and secondary. Next, stable versus unstable information. Magamba kita stable information. Stable information are information obtained from a digital publication over the internet. It should have available print versions of the online document, routinely updated and associated with a reputable institution. So, mga journal, na wala class nga makita nyo sa may internet, sa magkita journal, there ang class gina-publish ang mga research nga daw compilations sa mga research kag gina-publish sa journal nga na. Okay, mga researches or studies. Next, unstable information or unupdated information on a website. So, for example, ang mga sa Twitter, hindi mo pala pwede mabago and everything. So, that's unstable information. Mga tweets, wala mga tweets. Next. Okay? So, before we proceed to the next topic, I'll show another one. Okay? Ang grupo naman sa nga i-comment, ang code naman nga i-comment sa section, FELIXTOWE. Okay? So, FELIXTOWE, amo ninyo code. Okay? So, I hope i-take note nyo na. Alright? Okay na? Okay. I'm gonna hide it na. Okay? Next, we're going to talk about plagiarism. Right? I know that you have already idea of what is plagiarism because it has been discussed to you since before you were in junior high school. And even in your senior high school, plagiarism was already discussed. Okay? So I think you have already the idea. Plagiarism is using the actual words of other people without acknowledging the author. Okay? So magambakit actual word. Miskin hindi mo siya class copy word per word. Basta nagkuha ka knowledge or or knowledge or isa ka information coming from an author or sa original na source, kag wala mo siya gin-cite or wala mo siya gin-acknowledge or gin-credit mo ang author nga ina or ang source nga ina, that is what we call plagiarism. Okay? This has legal implications. So, pwede ka ma-preso, pwede ka ma-charge. While thoughts are not copyrightable, the imaginative articulation of an idea consequently falls under copyright when it is made. So, importante din ang copyright. Under reasonable use, we're going to discuss copyright later on. Little parts might be duplicated without authorization from the copyright holder. Okay? With fair use, you can utilize a few pieces of the material for scholastic or non-benefit purposes. You should quality the first source. You should credit the quality of the first source. What is viewed as reasonable utilized is somewhat abstract and can change from nation to nation. Okay? So each nation class has a policy of copyright. So importante din ang copyright class because it protects your idea class, your intellectual property ba class, nga ginimo mo, ikaw lang dyan nakaisip. Okay? So once gamiton, pwede man magamit sa mga educational na mga bagay. So, pwede na siya hindi pag-lisensya. Basta class, hindi mo na paggamiton ang amo na information coming from another author or another source. Hindi mo na siya paggamiton because kinanglan mo because kinanglan mo magkuha money or kinanglan mo magkita. Okay? Submit, Ariel. These are the following. The UNESCO 2020 provided strategies for avoiding plagiarism. So may mga strategies. These are the following. So tandaan nyo ganyan always. Submit your own work for publication. You need to cite even your own work. So gina-cite na class even your own work para sure ka get sigurado git class nga it's your own. Put quotation marks around everything that comes directly from the text and cite the source. For example, may ginkuhaan ka nga book, okay? So, quote-in-quote or the quotation mark, ibutang mo sina sa exact word, then i-cite mo ang source, then you are safe already from plagiarism. Paraphrase, but be sure that you are not simply rearranging or replacing a few words and cite the source, okay? So, hindi ka lang class magpinataka, ka lang gina-arrange mo lang ang word na hindi man maintindihan. Gawin mo na bala. So, kinanglan mag-paraphrase ka, it's understandable, and as well as you put your own idea to it. Okay? Nag-upload ka man own explanation mo, pero wala ka nag-paraphrase lang, karon nga plain paraphrasing lang. Okay? Dapat may own idea ka man. Then, cite the source na naman. Okay? Importante, giniskin din paraphrase mo na siya, always cite the source as well, gapon. There's no bad with citing a source. Keep a source journal, a notepad, or note cards or annotated bibliographies can be easily beneficial. Okay? So, magamba kita annotating. Example, amuning text, ari ka dito, ang ginasulo sa mouse ko. Okay? So, dira may mga palatandaan ka ina dira. So, that is annotation or annotating. So, keep ka dapat sa journal or sa listahan mo para hindi ka para hindi ka malipat kung sinong ginkuhaan sa information nga ato. Okay? Use the style manual in properly citing sources. Okay? Next, get help from the writing center or library para safe ka pagid. Next, information is very essential to all of us. However, since a lot of it is available everywhere, okay, so misleading ka na lang subong may information, we need to assess which ones are trustworthy and accurate. Having knowledge of ethical standards related to information literacy will also guide us to be responsible consumers and transmitters of information. So kung balaan taklas kung anong mga ginabaton kang mga information, okay, balaan taklas nga masaligan ang information kang ginabaton, so balaan ta maklas ang strategy nga ang ihambal ta sa ibang nga tao are true, okay, kag reliable. Intindihan? Nakuha? So, I think we are done with lesson 3, okay? We're done with lesson 3. So, I hope you learned something even though medyo dasig siyang information nga discussion, even though medyo dasig siya. Pero I hope you still learn something, okay? And it's the end of lesson na. Now, I will tell you na of your performance task. Are you ready? Okay, so the first performance task that obrahon ninyo is what we call infographics. Okay? Itulat ko siya, then ipakita ko siya sa inyo. Okay? And then makita mo na siya later. Amo ni siya class ang infographics. Ari siya. Okay? So, I hope makita niyo siya. Infographics ang tawag dira. Okay? Now, we're going to tackle, i-discuss ko ang groupings sa taga-section. Okay? Kay taga-section, may each group ka mo. May mga grupo-grupo ka mo. Kag kung anong magabutan sa grupo ninyo, nga topic, amo lang ng obrahan ninyo infographics. Did you get me? Duha ka bilog atong performance task class. First is the infographics, and the next one is you're going to do via Twitter. Okay? So, i-discuss ko na lang sa later. First, unahon tayo na yung infographics. Okay? So, amo ni ka sa obrahan ta sa infographics. I will show the groupings first, ha? Okay? So, maipakita ko ang groupings sang taga section. Okay? So, ilistan nyo gid, mayo. First is for the section FELIXTOWE.